Welcome to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast, where we dive deep and answer the ultimate question: how did you hack into tech sales? Each week, we bring you inspiring stories, proven strategies, and insider tips from top performers who've cracked the code to break into tech sales and thrive. Whether you're just starting out, making a career pivot, or ready to level up, this is your go-to space for actionable advice and real-world success stories. Let's crack the code together, because hacking into tech sales isn't just a dream, it's your next move. Now with your host, the founder of Tech Sales Funnels and the tech sales hacker himself, Dayvisson Da Silva.
Welcome everyone to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast. This is Dayvisson Da Silva, the tech sales hacker, your host. I'm super excited today to have a friend. Probably about 3 years ago, I met Luis Coronel. He's currently working at Microsoft. He has an amazing career, amazing story, and we're going to hear a little bit more about him today. He's also a storyteller, an educator, a Microsoft Ola Dallas president, and the co-founder and CEO of Lead, which we're going to hear more about it. So welcome, Luis.
No, thank you for the time, Dayvisson, and I really appreciate you doing these types of podcasts. I think it's really powerful to share the stories across the board from many different, not only across corporate, but also externally with other organizations too. So really happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited. The reason why I created this podcast is just that everyone has an amazing story, and we just need to hear more about it. And you have been an inspiration for me, man, from the beginning of times. When I was at Microsoft, first time I saw you leading one of the Ola events, I'm like, I want to volunteer. I want to help. You have a presence in the room. I don't know how to explain. It's everybody loves you, and it's your heart. And let's dive a little bit more into that today. So, but before we talk about Microsoft, your career, who is Luis? Who is Luis Coronel? I always like to start at a very high level.
Yeah.
Just maybe for 1 minute here, you can talk a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, awesome. So I won't touch much on experience, and I think that goes with who I am too. So I'm Peruvian. That's like part of my presence, part of my essence, as well as el sabor that we add to all of us, right? And Hispanic Latinx here in not only at Microsoft but in the United States. I came from Peru when I was 13. Straight into high school, got to learn the new language. Struggled, the usual things. But throughout all of that, I'm very passionate not only about helping and giving back, because I was also in that position, but also I dive into gaming. I go into arts and a lot of like dancing, a lot of music as well, especially Spanish music. So through all of that, I think really resonates what I bring to the table as Hispanic and Latinx, right? Like a lot of the passion comes from a lot of the art, culture, and presence that we always get instilled as children. So that's just a little bit about who I am. So in brief words, Peruvian, passionate culture. That's kind of like things that align, and of course, leadership.
I love that. I being from Brazil, we have that Latino connection, right? Also, I have, since when I moved to United States, I also as an international student, let's just say that, like, I got to know a lot of Hispanics and got to know a little bit more, develop my Spanish as well. So we vibe a lot on that. Thank you so much for the introduction. And I visited Peru actually before.
Really?
I went to Arequipa and Machu Picchu.
Well,
And
I actually gone to Machu Picchu, but I haven't been to Arequipa. So you might know more of Peru than I do.
That's funny. And there was one thing that I ate there that I absolutely loved, and there was this chicken who was like, it was grilled I don't know, it was the seasoning. It was like barbecued. It was rolling on the ground. I don't know the name that you guys gave it.
Might be pollo a la brasa, right? Like roasted
Yeah,
chicken.
but the seasoning, I have never seen any other place on earth. It's just like, I go back to US. I was like, I need to open a business and make this Peruvian chicken. It would just sell like crazy. I love the food.
Well, in Dallas, it will go crazy because the community is slowly growing as well, the Peruvian presence. So, we're starting to see a lot more restaurants and so on. But yeah, it's
interesting. Yeah,
one of my favorites too.
Yeah, I love that. So how do you, dive a little bit into, or not. A lot of people listening to this podcast, they are either in tech sales or they're trying to get into tech sales. And I know you're more on the technical side, which a lot of people think like selling technology is just like making phone calls, sending emails, being on LinkedIn. Um, Before we dive into Microsoft, how did you get into this world of technology? It was just right after college. Like, how did you get
Yeah.
introduced to tech?
Well, that's a long story, but I'll try to kind of summarize on some of the key points, right? Of course, it wasn't an easy path, not only because it's a company like Microsoft, but also coming in as an immigrant into a new country with a new language and new guidelines and everything that we need to really learn from the ground up. First generation student, so there was a lot of hiccups, a lot of things that I had to really manage and go through, but also w- a lot of what we saw that really helped not only myself but other students were a lot of student organizations that were primarily hosted or led by Hispanic leaders like myself, like
Mm,
yourself, that one way or the other were in the same pool and were looking to advance themselves, right? So Shep was one to them, Alpha is another one, Sui is another one that are focused on young talent, right? So a lot of those, and me personally with Shep, I found the group of people that really I got to see myself in,
mm.
that they were looking at what comes next after college. I was worried about just, my classes, my exams, but they were thinking about professional development, resumes, elevator pitch and all these things. And that kind of got me centered into what I wanted to do. That's actually how I got introduced to going to career fairs and conferences, and I got to learn through all of that. And it was through one of those conferences that I actually got to meet with Microsoft employees. I was able
Mm,
to do a pre-screening and interview. I remember at that time it was for the role of Premier Field Engineer, what we call
mhm,
PFEs, right? Which essentially now has turned into cloud solutions architects and still within solutions and clients. And a lot of what I got to learn through my progress and process of application and all of that is that it's a little bit of a mix of understanding the business, the services that we bring to clients, but also the technicality of that, right? How do you implement? How do you work with what we have in the architecture and then place that into a way that we can provide our clients a best use of what they're purchasing of, really, right? So their investment there. I didn't know much of the space, to be honest, when I first applied, because
mhm,
I had the mentality that usually interviews, especially coming from a technical background, it would be a standard, two people sitting in front of me, myself, behavioral questions, and then some technical questions. But for the PFE role, I actually was asked to present for 30 minutes or for 15 minutes
mm.
about a topic that I'm passionate about. It caught me off
Oh,
guard. I wasn't sure, right? It was more on the salesy side, I would say. And I had to prepare something specifically to talk about and address a lot of the questions. Or fun fact is that the person that actually interviewed me at that time ended up
mm.
being my manager, Afsel, which is a
Wow.
great person, and even till now we stay in touch and talk about the different things. But I remember I also, just to note, I asked him as well, because he was my manager. It's like, what did you see in me, right? Like, what really
Mm,
caught your eye? And he mentioned that the topic and the way that I talked about what I was passionate about showed that I helped people and I helped
mm,
others. And he said that he saw in me potentially someone that could help the internal teams and how we can develop together, right? So that was kind of like something that I take away from that as well. But yeah, it was a long process, a lot of obstacles, but a lot of learning as well.
wow, that was a visionary manager right there, because he saw your true potential, which not many people can do that, right? And it's exactly what you do. It's exactly what you do inside of Microsoft. That's amazing. And you touched something very, 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 very important. Our students listening to this early stage career. Get outside, get out. A lot of times you get busy with school and grades and that kind of stuff. You early introduced to those mentorships. Um, and you recently had a Microsoft a student day, which
Mhm.
uh, probably hundreds, I would say, of students were
Right.
there,
Yeah.
getting exposed to exactly what you did before, right? What would be your number one like strategy or recommendation for early stage career people who are trying to get exposure, because there's sometimes it can be overwhelming, sometimes there's all those things that you need to do. What would be your number one, like, top of mind?
Yeah, I mean, definitely you need to get involved. You need to be out there. I think an online application can just go so far. I also
Mhm.
really believe that your connections matter a lot. Your networking, not only for your self practice and your self development on how to communicate with different situations, but also expanding that and keeping a good relationship with a variety of backgrounds. I think really goes a long way, and this is something that I say to a lot of my mentees and students that I work with, right? Especially in the market that we're in and the things that we're seeing, you have to be a little bit more aggressive, right? You have to not only be applying, but you have to be going to opportunities. If they're free and they're within your reach, go attend all of those opportunities, talk to as many people that you can. I'm usually open as well, and I try to be for as much as I can. On my LinkedIn, if you message me, I might take some time, but I will reply. I will try to help, right? But also mix that with a little bit of readiness, right? Make sure you're prepared, right? So if you're reaching out or you're establishing a conversation, make sure that you have some background on the company or the project or something to really hook into that conversation that is going to make you stand out, right? You want people to remember why you're reaching out, who you are, what's the value that you're really bringing. And then I think that's going to open a lot of different doors, right? And it might not even make you feel too stuck because you might have some responses that actually lead to other connections that could help out. So um, be a little bit more aggressive, be ready, and don't be afraid to start reaching out.
Mm, thank you. Thanks for that. I see you, Luis, as a great example for in all corporate America employees, not only at Microsoft, outside of Microsoft. It's that you found a way to be successful in your career, but also give back. Um, and I just had a question for you, and if we can dive a little bit deeper into that, because that can inspire other people to do more. Feel like everybody says they're busy, right? We're all busy. It's the busy people, for me, is the people that get more stuff done, and so that's not an excuse. So what? So first, why you do what you do? Like, I know your manager saw that on you. Um, you're always involved in giving back to the students outside of Microsoft. You have your own profit, which you can talk about a little bit about that. Why do you do what you do? Like, what is that coming from? I know you touched a little bit on the beginning for your heritage and all
Yeah.
that, but is there a
Yeah,
source?
no, it's a great question. I mean, it's something that also that I even see a lot as I'm planning a lot of events, and of course it's a lot of time commitment, right? It's a lot of after five.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we even meet with a couple other folks that are doing mentoring and so on Sundays to talk about what we could do and things. So of course, one, I really enjoy the idea of these projects and what the impact is across the board. So that's definitely has to be there. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be too into it. And then two, I think it connects to what I received, right? I was always on the other end. And I think that's also something that, especially during this month of gift month, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
employees feel. And also alongside that, I believe there is a lot of people, a lot of employees, especially at Microsoft, that want to do that. They want to volunteer. You're one of them, right? That we work together. But right, what you call out, right? Bandwidth sometimes is key. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I think if I hadn't found a group of people, of teammates, right, you as well, that really empower us to do better and do these types of things. And of course, like call out my managers and my leaders from across the board that also empower that type of commitment. That's make me feel like I want to do it and I can do it and I continue to do a lot of that, right? And then throw in a little bit of passion for just student development, career development, a lot of professional outreach that we do as well. And all of that just kind of, I'm in a centerpiece where things are allowing me to do more, right? And I think it's a really sweet spot to be, but a lot of it ties also to passion and my heritage and my background that I had as growing up.
I love that, and I like that you mentioned that you have the support of the leadership, and and of your team, that you're not doing, by yourself, and you're very humble in other things you do, which that means a lot for everyone, and everyone wants to help you because of that. Um, can you tell us a little bit more about your lead,
Yeah,
profit?
so
Yeah, I was super excited to see that.
I'm excited as well. It's something that is growing so fast. We didn't expect it actually to grow so fast. Myself and Tony, who's my co-founder, we actually we both come from the same background, right? First generation students, learning obstacles, learning, and so on, and then achieving something, right? We're actually both at Microsoft now, working on a lot of what we're seeing and projecting. But it really came out with how do we bring a little bit of what we are doing in the United States with students here to our
Mhm.
native countries, right? And I know yourself, you also been involved with nonprofits in Brazil. So there's always a little bit of that connection that you have with the place that where it all started, right? We did a pretty big search of exactly how do we want to do, what type of nonprofit, what's our background, and Lead was born from that opportunity that we both saw was given to us as students who were essentially lost and didn't know where to go. And we
Mm,
found these spaces and groups that actually allowed us to develop ourselves, right? And people that encouraged us to do that. So Lead is a student organization that primarily lives in Latin America, starting with Peru. We have the goal of expanding to other countries eventually
mm,
because we see that a lot of Latin America is very similar too, but we're starting with Peru because of the connections. And a lot of that, we're also bringing some type of connection and resources and experience from the Americas because we have a lot of Latinos,
mm.
Hispanics here in the United States that also want to give back, not only to their communities, but maybe to the places where they came from, where they were raised, right? So right now it's still in the building process. I kid you not, we presented this idea in March in Peru. We had maybe like 15 students who were planning a couple of events. We did one event where it was open to all. We had over 300 applicants.
Wow.
People came in, different schools said, "Hey, I want to have this in my school. I want to do this. I want to do this."
Wow.
Multiple teams. Honestly, it was very fulfilling, but also there is a lot of work that was behind all of that. But we're really happy now, and it inspires me as well to see that the students themselves, they're hosting their own events, they're doing their own podcasts as well. They're doing a
Nice.
lot of great work. And one thing that I'm really, really proud of is that they are giving back what they're taking as university students to high school students in Peru currently,
Mm,
right? So it's building that connection that we started. And that's the part that makes me the most happy, is that they're taking that empowerment idea and also giving it back to those that they can.
wow. Wow. I would bet here that energy that comes from that, it
Mhm.
gives you even more like creativity, even more power, even more energy to do your own jobs and your own things, right? It's just it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
Um, that's amazing, man. Like you can't measure the impact that this is going to have. Open to help any way I can. Latin America, Brazil, especially on that kind
Brazil
of
is in our
opportunity.
radars, and the way it starts is meeting people like you, right? Meeting professionals who want to give back, and then connecting with professionals in Brazil, and then
Mhm.
seeing how something can work out. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, got a lot of connections down there as well. That's great. So Microsoft, nonprofit, giving back inside of Microsoft, and you mentioned about the month give, and that's kind of one of your values of your mantra. I would say in life is just kind of giving back. Um, can you think about like if you can share, right? Think about one story, like a specific student, or because you see stuff all the time, and you just mentioned someone student that was doing a podcast. Can you think about like an impactful story that you have seen in either inside of Microsoft, an employee, or it was a result of those all those things that you're trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think There's multiple ones, but I think alongside passionate that we can bring to the table, right? Passion and community and heritage and culture. There's one thing that we're trying to also focus a lot of what our development and our initiatives are within OLA specifically, is that we want to demonstrate that one, communities like those at companies like Microsoft is very important, right? Not only because it makes it a more inclusive space, but also it makes people feel comfortable, right? Getting to meet someone at the office, speaking your language, eating your food, talking
Mhm.
about the things that we like to talk about, right? It makes it a great environment to be, and elevates the work that you can provide for the business. But also alongside that is, how can we show that our community building, our networking can also really bring true business value, which is what we have with the ERG cohort that we call Juntos, right? It's a collaboration of
Mhm.
multiple companies that come together for a lot of networkings. And I think that brings a lot of impact because um, for whatever reason, if there are some circumstances where we need to leverage each other, we need to leverage our network, whether it is for career progression or anything happens at our company and I'm looking for a new position, that is there, and you have
Mhm.
people that you've been connected to do this process to be able to help you, right? And then look at it from the other side as well. If you are someone that is looking to explore potential partnerships that can maybe even drive business later on, that is
Mhm.
also a place to be. So I think this new story that we're bringing and shaping on the way that we worked with the inclusive networks and employee resource groups is that new page, and we are slowly going towards it. We're seeing a lot more traction. I'm happy to know so many leaders across the other companies that want to do a lot of this as well. And we see it, right? We see it with a lot of the things that might have happened a couple months ago, and we see that the networks are being leveraged, are being used. There's true impact that is coming out from that.
Yeah, it's amazing how uh, the impact, right, that this can create. It's sometimes even hard to measure because it's all about
Mhm.
relationships and relationships. It's there's no like a specific number, right, to tag, but that's where the real opportunities, the real business, the real doors are open is by people. So
Mhm.
that's amazing. Um, I that your story is it's really really cool, Luis. I you are you these days you're dealing a lot of AI, and I want to bring that question just because it's a very hot topic and
Yeah.
a lot of people are learning about AI and everything. Um, for career development, because it's really hard to find out where to start because you live and breathe right every single day and you're with Microsoft, so it's might be a little bit easier for you. But any recommendations for people who are trying to get into tech sales or to develop their career in AI, like where to start, like what they should be doing, like how they should be planning their development in these
Mhm.
days?
Yeah, it's
Any
a good
any
question.
thought?
I will try to give my best response because also, like I work a lot with students, but some of them are also in early career. So it's more tied into that industry, I think would vary a little bit more. But of course, adding to what I had mentioned earlier of being a little bit more aggressive, showing up, bringing your presence forward outside of online applications, that definitely helps. But also what you mentioned, right? Keeping track of what are the current trends. So if you're looking to really jump into one of the larger companies, whether it's Microsoft, Amazon, Google, etc., what is the trend that they're following, right? Are they really, what's their investment currently? Is it in AI? Is it in agents? Is it in, development of other engineering tools? What are those spaces? And what are you doing now to make yourself more valuable in those spaces, right? So I think accreditations help a lot because it's a true
Mhm.
stamp from the different companies that really let you know, right? And I mean, for us even,
Mm,
we are encouraged and sometimes even required to do accreditations, right? We need to be upskilling constantly. So if that's coming from internal, of course, we definitely want to showcase that with external audiences that are looking to make the jump, right? So certifications go a long way. But also, I think something that maybe it's not taught too much is your industry knowledge, right? Because even within Microsoft, we have so many different sectors and industries that we focus on. Is maybe bringing a little bit of that experience from the different industries that you've either have supported or are learning about, right? So maybe you want to jump into the space of cloud solutions architecture or
mm,
sales, right? But you see that across the board sales, maybe it's a little bit too difficult or it's too broad. But if you say, hey, I'm within sales, but I'm specialized in these areas and I have a lot more expertise because I know the industry, that could
mm.
give you a boost, right? So I think a mix of those would be perfect. And of course, I'm a very big advocate of asking, and I do it a lot, so of asking like 5 15-minute introductory. What do you do at your role? Could you spare some time? I just have a few questions. Not commitment really. I'm not necessarily looking to jump into the company right away. I just want to learn, right? And those little bits of learning, not only does that make a connection, but it gives you a lot of insight as to what you could do, right? So I think that is a great step. And of course, it might sound like a lot in a way, but we have to be a little bit more aggressive, right? And that's the what I think would really get you to a good starting point.
I love it. Thanks so much for that summary. And as a closing here, I know we're coming to the end.
Mhm.
You did you do Aspire, the Aspire program? I believe
Yeah.
so. Okay, so right after college, you joined one of the top premier, like, worldwide, uh, early stage, career development that you could possibly join, like Aspire, which is Microsoft, early stage. And then you developed, but then you grew. Microsoft, almost 7, 8 years, coming to a decade here, close. Not many people can do that. Like, a lot of people can join Microsoft, but they might, get overwhelmed, or might not, continue to progress. Can you give an advice, or just your personal experience, or like high level, ideas of how you can, develop in your career, within the organization? I'll say corporate America. How can
Mhm.
you move the different roles, you progressed? A lot of people they're trying to do that, but they might be feeling stuck, or they might not be as happy. Or any
Yeah.
advices on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you. I really appreciate it as well. Yeah, so I joined as an Aspire hire, which actually my year was the MAC program, right? I think
I
it
heard
stood
of
for
it.
like Microsoft Aspire College Hires. But then it became the Aspire program, and yeah, I mean, once an Aspire, always an Aspire in some way, right? So um and yeah, it was also a learning curve. They did provide us with a lot of mentorship, and I think through that mentorship, and the Aspire program is great because not only do you get a really strong ramping up period with mentors and support, but you're starting with a group of people that are in the same boat as you, right? It's not like you're jumping right on the go. You have like some time and then you learn and get involved to a team. I'm starting with folks that also just finished college, right? And a lot of that learning we took because we were eager and ready to do everything. And the first thing that we jumped on was the Microsoft culture. And I think that's one of my, I would say, like secrets within how to stay involved and motivated and energized at work is living the culture that we've been with Microsoft. That of course really matches what I want to do, right? That idea of
Mhm.
empowerment, organizations across technology and also beyond technology, right? True impact that we can bring as employees. I think not only does that connect, but I found my way of revolving and navigating all of that as one of my key metrics of how I want to stay developing myself. So I apply that a lot to my customers and my clients, right? Results, I think, comes first. You need to have results and good results all together. But then aside from that is what are you also doing along the way that not only is within the culture space, but it also makes you stand out a little bit, right? What is bringing you a little bit more of that leadership perspective? What is also bringing you awareness as to what other areas or other industries are doing? And that's why I really love the idea of employee resource groups or inclusion networks, is because it opens a perspective to so many other areas that are outside of your business group, right? Especially in this age where everyone is working everywhere. Your team might not even be in your location, and you're kind of making new connections and all these things. These employee resource groups, I think, really add that value. So a lot of that gave me leadership exposure. A lot of that also allowed me to meet people that are very encouraging and also feel the same passion for us. We get to learn a lot from students that we work with. We get to learn a lot from professionals in other spaces outside of Microsoft as well. Mix all of that and live in the cultures that we bring of empowerment. And I think as I channel all of that into my day-to-day work with my clients and getting the most results that I can, I think that's the path that I found to manage. And of course, a good work and life balance, even though it doesn't look like it because there's a lot of work after. But that all really makes it, I wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. I want to do this and I want to do that. So I don't feel too much of the downside of it. But also, one big aspect of all that, because all of that wouldn't really make sense if your leadership is ready to support you, right? I really value mentors and sponsorships from our leadership teams that ask us, right? Like, hey, how did that event go? Or how did it, how many students did we reach? What were the stories that came out of that? And that brings a lot of motivation to myself, which I think really matches what we're trying to do with Microsoft too.
Wow. Everyone, if you've missed the first minutes, Luis talked about what he does, his background, his career, his nonprofit. A lot of advice here for everyone, either early stage career, growing career, that's in technology. Thank you so much, Luis. You are an inspiration. You are the definition of a servant leader, and you are always giving back. And more people need to hear your story. So I'm so grateful that you were able to connect today.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate your time and you for doing this. I mean, I got to learn a lot from you as well. You're one of our closest leaders internally within Microsoft. And I mean, I'm really excited and happy to see that all of the work that you're putting in, which also makes you an inspiration for a lot of many other people that are watching this. So thank you again.
Thank you, Luis.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast, where we crack the code and uncover the strategies to break into tech sales. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to hack their way into this exciting career. Remember, hacking into tech sales isn't just a goal, it's a mission. Let's keep hacking, learning, and winning together. Catch you next time.